go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Philly Sports Talk. I'm Cash, I'm on with Chris, and we're here to talk all things Philly sports. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, I'm doing good, and I want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight on Philly Sports Talk. You are listening to us on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all things that is sports, and we will be talking Philadelphia sports for the next hour.
And we'll lead things off with, what else? The Philadelphia 76ers. So we came back from the All-Star break, and we were missing Joel and Ben for the first game due to the COVID protocols. And we got Embiid back Friday night against the Wizards, and we all know what happened next. Joel went up, he dunked, came down on his leg, and we thought the season was over. We thought his knee was gone. Something was broken. He was on the court in tears. But it turns out nothing, no structural damage. We got a break. He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks, and hopefully all is well and he can get back to playing.
Yeah, what they've called it is a bone bruise, and I guess that's the best news that could have come from that injury. From the way things looked, like you said, it did look like it was going to be a lot worse, and I guess now what they'll do is he'll rest for the 2 weeks, reevaluate that bone bruise to make sure that he's able to play pain-free, or at least if he has some pain there, it's tolerable and it's not something that's going to limit his ability on the court. And with the history of injuries that this guy's had, it was just something where, like you said, it seemed like that was the end of the season right there.
Yep. Yeah, we were messaging each other saying, that's it, season over. And a lot of people on Twitter were saying the same thing. I guess we jumped to conclusions, but from the history we've had in Philly with injuries and athletes, and especially Embiid's history, we thought it was. But we got a break, so he's going to miss probably 7 to 10 games. He's already missed 7 games prior to that, so if he's going to miss between 15, 17, probably by the end of the season, 20 to 25 games, I think the MVP chances are pretty much history. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. If he has to miss that much time, given the fact that maybe somebody else who's up there vying for MVP, whether it's James Harden or whether it's LeBron James or anybody else who comes along who plays the majority of the games, only misses maybe a handful or doesn't miss any, is more likely to be the MVP. But as I said before, I don't think they give parades on Broad Street for an MVP. So if he's there and can be helpful and take the Sixers to a championship and not win the MVP, I'm fine with that.
Absolutely. I'd rather have a Finals MVP and a championship than a regular season MVP.
Yeah, and like I said, even if it's not Embiid as the MVP, if he's there and contributing and can get the Sixers over the hump, and I guess the first hurdle would be to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, where the Sixers haven't been for a long time, and especially since Embiid and Simmons have been there, they haven't gotten that far. I don't think they've gotten out of the second round, and I guess that would be the first hurdle to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then hopefully they could win it.
Absolutely, and it's going to be much easier if they can somehow hold on to the number 1 seed, because if we can avoid playing either Milwaukee or Brooklyn, and they can knock one of each other off, that would be a lot easier road. Right now they sit in the 2 spot and the 3 spot respectively. Brooklyn's in 2, Milwaukee's in the 3. Each team's won the last 9 out of their 10 games, so they're peaking at the right time.
Well, and Brooklyn playing without Kevin Durant here for the last few games, and I guess it's day to day with him every time we look, and they're still able to win without him. And I guess tonight the Sixers will be trying to get this 4th game here back from the All-Star break. And I guess if they win tonight, that would be 6 in a row, going back to the 2 before the All-Star break. So that'd be a nice stretch too. And if this game going back to the one on Sunday where they beat the Spurs and hanging on to demolish the Wizards the other night where they didn't have Embiid. It would be, like you said, very impressive if they can do that. But that number one seed, and if possible, any series that the Sixers are in goes to Game 7, that game needs to be in the Wells Fargo Center.
Absolutely it does. Where they're 17-3 at home. And another team coming up the Eastern Conference, Miami Heat. They've also won 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. So Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Miami have all won 9 of their last 10 games. The Sixers have won 8 out of 10. So that's
it's even though we look at it and we say, well, the Sixers look like they're the best team.
They're hot on their heels.
It's never easy.
Yep.
No, that Miami team too. What they did last year in the playoffs and getting to the finals was impressive, and I guess they're stepping on the gas again right now and trying to make a move and try to get a better position for the second half of the season. It's interesting tonight too because we'll have a Sixers game starting right at the same time that our show is basically getting underway. They're playing the Knicks tonight, who also are a much better team than I think a lot of people thought they would be,
including myself. The Knicks sit at 20-20, 7th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, if you would have asked me before the season what their record would be, I would say they would have probably won 20 games for the season. I thought they were an awful team, but Julius Randle's been playing out of his mind. Putting up.
I think that's true. I mean, that acquisition in the offseason really has paid off for the Knicks. I know a lot of the Knicks fans have wanted them to make more of an impact with a bigger name, but he has turned out to be a great player for them. And also, Tom Thibodeau coaching them is something that can't be overlooked.
Absolutely, veteran coach with a young team. I have Shane checking in on the message board, calling him Glass Embiid, a term I've used a lot over the years. Glass Embiid, great player, fragile body. Now, great player to say the least. I mean, you're looking at a guy that's the best player in the league when healthy, but being a Philadelphia fan, at any time he can go down, and it's very, very frustrating. He's been in the league for, this is his seventh year. He hasn't played a full season. He's played 64 games is the most he's played in a season.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, too, that, of course, when you draft a guy and he's injured when he was drafted, it's always going to be a question mark. And, of course,
sure,
like you said, over the years, it's happened time and time again where he's been injured. And I guess it's one of those things, too, to say where Philadelphia has been fortunate to have him as much as they have. If you look back at some other names such as Greg Oden or Sam Bowie, who kind of had similar potential and similar hype when they came out of college, and just injuries just totally ruined their career.
Yeah. I mean,
which of course is what we don't want to see happen to Embiid.
Sure. He turned 27 today. Today's his 27th birthday. Yeah, he's no longer a young kid, and this is the prime. This is it. This year. Up to probably the age 31 year, so we'll give him 4 more seasons, maybe 5 more seasons at this level, to bring Philly a championship. We know that's what he wants. We know, he wants nothing more than to win a title. So and
I think now with Doc Rivers, I think there's more confidence from those of us who are Sixers fans in Doc Rivers than we had in Brett Brown over the years.
Right.
I don't know if Brett Brown could have coached the Sixers this season to the record they have now that Doc Rivers has.
No, definitely not. Not. I don't think Brett Brown would have. Go ahead.
Yeah, the challenge is coming up the second half of the season when the games are not spaced out as much and the games are so much more important to see how well Doc Rivers has his team coached. And the one player I think that we should talk about that I guess they were talking about the other night on the Wizards broadcast was Tobias Harris. And those of us who are Sixers fans, we know exactly how well Tobias Harris is playing, and we couldn't be happier with what he's done. And hopefully he just continues to get better as the season goes on.
No, definitely. He's definitely been there in all the games that Ben and Joel have missed. He's he's carried the load. I mean, he's scoring 20.2 points a game. He's shooting 51% from the field, which is amazing for for a perimeter player. I mean, 51%. He's shooting 40% from three. He's averaging 7.5 rebounds. He's done it all. I mean, like you said earlier, he is making $32 million, so we expect him to do it all. But a third wheel.
That was one of those things too. When going back a couple seasons, when they did finally give him the big max contract, it was one of those things where it looked like, is it possible that he's not that kind of a player, but we need to give him that contract just so he'll stay in Philadelphia? Well, at this point, so far this season, especially under Doc Rivers, which was an important thing, I think, for him in Philadelphia, he's playing up to it, and hopefully, like I said, here the second half of the season, he can stay healthy as well, and he can be a major impact on the Sixers going forward.
Absolutely. Well,
I think the one thing we need to touch on with the Sixers is the fact that the trade deadline is very close, and it looks like Kyle Lowry's not going to be available.
No, that seems to be the word out of Toronto. I don't know if he wants to stay or if they don't want to trade him, but previously they had mentioned they wanted to reward him and put him with a winner, but now it seems not to be the case.
Right, him being on the last year of his deal, I don't know if he's. At least my understanding is that he probably won't be in Toronto after this year anyway.
Right, and you think they'd want to get something for him, a young player, or a draft pick in exchange. I mean, they're sitting in the 11th spot.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Toronto's sitting in the 11th spot right now. So playoffs start today. They're not in the playoffs, even with the 10 teams making it and having the mini tournament to get in. So I think if they would drop maybe to the 12 or maybe possibly, Washington or Cleveland can pass them before the March 25th trade deadline, maybe they'll make them available. I don't see the point in holding on to them. I won't even see the point in holding on to them now. I don't think that at 17 and 22 they're a team that's going to threaten to win a title or even make an Eastern Conference final. That's not going out on a limb either.
No, and the point you made is exactly right. I mean, if they could get some future draft picks possibly from the Sixers and maybe, like you said, a young player that the Sixers have, whether it would be a Matisse Thybulle or a Maxey, or even if they, I don't know if the Sixers would be willing to deal Shake Milton, but it would just seem to benefit Toronto to do that. But at this point, I guess that's still up in the air to see what happens. Like you said, maybe if they do fall further out of it, he will become available, and maybe he'll be a Sixer. Interesting
you bring up Shake Milton. Nobody brings up Shake Milton's name in trades. Every trade we hear is Thybulle, is Maxey, is Scott, is Green. You never hear Shake Milton mentioned. I think he'd be a key piece, being a young, talented player that the Sixers most likely won't be able to sign. So it would work from the Sixers end and the team getting him. We get a young player like Shake.
And if you look at what he's done so far in the league as being a guy coming off the bench, I mean, his name usually will come up in Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah.
Talks occasionally, and as of now, I mean, the Sixers don't have the greatest bench, which is one of those things that we'll find out just how well that bench can play here with these next few games coming up without Embiid, because those guys are going to have to play more of a role. But Shake Milton's the first guy off the bench, and Shake Milton is the best bench player that the Sixers have. And like you said, you would think that name would come up as someone who, if you're looking to make a trade, he'd be someone on the Sixers that could add value for years to come to a team looking to make a trade.
Absolutely. Like I said too, this is his last year with the Sixers, and he'll become a restricted free agent. Do they sign him? I don't think they can sign him. I mean, you get control of the 1 year, but long term, he's not going to be a player they're going to be able to pay.
No, you're probably right on that, and that's another thing too, where if he could be moved for a major piece that could help the Sixers reach the finals, I don't see a problem with him being involved in a trade. But like you said, that name usually doesn't come up. It's Thybulle and Maxey are the guys that come up, and then what you always hear too is, well, we got to throw Scott in or Cork Miles or something like that to try to make the money work. But yeah, like you said, you would think Shake Milton would be obviously mentioned.
Yeah, he's 24 years old. It's not like he's 27, 28. I don't know.
No, and I would guess. I mean, on depending on the team, as we've seen on the Sixers. I mean, he's a valuable guy off the bench, but he's a guy who could potentially be a starter for a team.
Definitely a starter. And even Toronto, even playing back up to Van Fleet for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Exactly. I mean, if that's what it would take to get Kyle Lowry to come here, I don't think that would be a bad option for the Sixers, and of course, it wouldn't be a bad option for Toronto either.
Right.
Now, the question I have though with Kyle Lowry is he someone that the Sixers would want to take because I know he would improve their chances of making the finals this year, but then his contract, I guess, runs out, so. I don't think he would stay with the Sixers past this season.
It all depends if he wants to win. I mean, if he might sign on for maybe a 2-year, $24 million contract, something like that. You know, a veteran's exception, something in that range. If he wants to win, I mean, I also don't see another team giving him anywhere near a max deal or even the 25, 30 million. I don't see that happening. Not at 35 years old. He's going to be 36.
Correct, and if you look at that starting five, if you add, I guess you would replace Danny Green with Kyle Lowry, and that's a pretty good starting five to go into any game. Or like you said, if he would stay in Philadelphia, I mean that's a good starting five to look forward to next year.
I'm looking at his stats. He's actually averaging 34 minutes played this year for a 34 year going to be 35-year-old on March 25th. That's a lot of minutes.
It is.
He's still averaging 18 points, still shooting 39.7 from 3, 5.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists. I mean,
yeah, and other than his name, I haven't heard much of anybody else possibly being mentioned. Now, I'm sure there's some minor deals that could be made, but no bigger names than Kyle Lowry at this moment.
No.
Trade option for the Sixers right now.
I've heard P.J. Tucker's name thrown around. You know, Houston's looking to unload anybody they can. He's a guy that's not going to be in their future.
As we said last week, maybe a Thaddeus Young, who I guess we gave his age wrong last week. Thaddeus is only 33. We aged him by 2 years.
Yeah, he got 2 years younger in a week. We saw the other night LaMarcus Aldridge became available, but now I heard that San Antonio would still want to trade him somehow. I don't see how that's possible if they cut him, or if maybe they didn't cut him. They're just holding him, waiting for a trade. What do you know about him, Aldridge?
No, I don't know what his situation is with San Antonio. I mean, I think he would be a nice addition to the Sixers. I don't think he's anyone that's going to put the Sixers over the top, though.
No, and it's really going to be. He doesn't really blend well with Embiid. He's, I don't think you're going to put all that money into a guy that's going to come off the bench either. So.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. I mean, that was just like before when Blake Griffin had gone to Brooklyn, and I guess his name had been thrown around a little bit as a possibility to come to the Sixers. But there was really no place for him to be on the Sixers,
nah.
and
Blake Griffin hasn't played 1 minute yet for Brooklyn.
Correct. And that's, yeah. I mean, so names like that are always thrown around at the trade deadline. But I think the people who are right now running the Sixers, I think they have a good handle on what it is they're going to need and what is best for the team going forward.
We mentioned a name earlier today, Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's a guy that the Sixers had that I wish we still had. He'd be perfect for this team.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think he's going to be available to come back, though.
No, I know that. I'm just saying it would have been if they traded him for Ilyasova. I wish that deal never happened.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of those deals that we wish would have never happened over the years with the Sixers, or some draft picks that the Sixers had taken over the years.
So the first 20 minutes here has been basketball dominated, and we're going to continue with that basketball theme. Later in the show, we're going to do a live bracket here on the air. We're going to pick every game in the tournament and document who we think is going to be the NCAA 2021 champion.
Yeah, I guess we're coming up on our first break here. And when we come back from the break, we will get into the NCAA tournament. And just so everyone out there who's listening, that you are listening to Philly Sports Talk on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be back.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back and in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Philly Sports Talk. Next up, we're going to do our own first ever NCAA bracket. We're going to pick every game in the bracket, and we'll actually submit the bracket and see what we can come up with. This year, a little different. They're doing playing games on Thursday for the first time. Usually those games are tonight in like Dayton, Ohio, but they didn't do that this year. They changed it up, and they also have 4 COVID emergency teams on standby this year.
Yeah, a little different this year. Welcome back, everybody. Here to Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris. You are listening to us on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Interesting, as I'm looking at the bracket now, they've taken out that first round, and I guess the first 4 games now are just called the first 4
yeah.
instead of that being a first round. So I guess that's the best place for us to start.
Well, actually, the way ESPN does it, they don't actually have those games. You don't pick those games. Like, you would just pick, we'll just pick Gonzaga against the winner. So pretty much we're going to advance. I'll do that game. That'll be Gonzaga advancing.
Exactly.
In that
Gonzaga
will
advance.
And then they'll have the 8-9. We'll have Oklahoma, Missouri.
Yeah, and if that one's going to be my pick, I'll see if you agree with me. I'm going to take Oklahoma.
Doesn't matter if I agree or not. We're going to go. we're going to alternate. I would take Oklahoma there.
Well, I would say you probably are a little bit more up on college basketball than I am. So if you think something's totally out of whack on my pick,
I'll use an executive challenge. Okay. All right, we got Creighton, UC Santa Barbara. That'll be me. I like Creighton out of the Big East.
Yep, right there from Omaha, Nebraska.
Yep. Next we have the Virginia Cavaliers and the Ohio Bobcats.
And I'm going to take Virginia in that game.
I agree. All right. Next you would have USC Trojans against the winner of Wichita Drake, which is a tricky one because Drake and Wichita State both had great seasons. It's a shame they have to play a game in order to get into the tournament. My feeling is that Drake's going to win that game and probably get out athletic by USC, so we'll take the Trojans. Next, we have the 3-14 seed, Kansas versus Eastern Washington.
Let's see. And Kansas versus I definitely got to take Kansas here in the first round.
Okay. Then we have Oregon, who's been playing great coming into before the Pac-10 tournament. They were playing really well, and people were talking possible top 4 seed, but they dropped down to a 7 with an early exit. They're playing VCU, who always plays tough, full court press, and Shaka Smart, full court, not Shaka Smart, full court defense. I'll still take Oregon in that game. Next, you have Iowa against the perennial powerhouse Grand Canyon.
Oh boy, Grand Canyon against Iowa.
Iowa and the National Player of the Year, Luka Garza.
I'm going to have to take Iowa.
Going out on a limb, taking Iowa.
Yeah, right. On a limb there.
All right.
I mean, this is just a big hole there with Grand Canyon, I think.
That's
part of the joke.
that completes the West first round. We'll go to the East, where Michigan's going to take on Mount St. Mary's or Texas Southern. And I think we'll go with the number 1 seed Michigan there. Followed by a tough matchup, an 8-9 matchup. LSU and the St. Bonaventure Bonnies, who had a really good season, 16-4.
Yes, they did, and I'm actually going to take them to win that game. I know it's 8-9, but it is going to be an upset. I think St. Bonaventure moves on.
I'm looking at the odds. Yeah, the game predictor has a 60% chance for LSU, so that game can go either way. So take the Bonnies, all right. Colorado, Georgetown.
I hope Shaq's not mad at me.
Nah. Colorado versus Georgetown. That's a tough game. Georgetown wins the tournament to get in and gets a 12 seed. Patrick Ewing and the Hoyas. Colorado had a really good season. Let's see. 13-12 versus a 22-8. We'll go Colorado.
All right.
Next up, you have Florida State, UNC Greensboro, 4 of 13.
I'm going to take Florida State in that game.
ACC team.
Yep.
All right. Then I'll have a BYU, Michigan State, UCLA winner. BYU took Gonzaga, gave Gonzaga all they could handle.
Yes, they did.
I'll take BYU. That'll give you Texas versus Abilene Christian, another Texas team. Will Abilene Christian be familiar with their in-state rival?
But I still will go with Texas in this one.
I'm trying to talk them into a big upset, folks. I'm trying. Next, we got UConn, Maryland, 7-10 game. That's a tough one. UConn got their best player, Bouknight, back as the season went on. They played really well down the stretch. Maryland didn't catch much of them this year. They were 16-13. They struggled. UConn 15-7. Game's a toss-up. I'll take UConn.
I would agree with that. And Alabama will beat Iona.
I really like Alabama. Alabama's a good team, the 2 seed out of the East. All right, that concludes the East. We'll go to the South with another barn burner here. Baylor and Hartford. I think I'll go with Baylor. What do you think? They're undefeated most of the year. We'll go with them. We're just joking.
I would have to go with Baylor.
The Hartford Hawks, by the way. I wanted to see what they were called. I did not know that. The Hartford Hawks. As much as I follow college and I like to know all the team names, I didn't know that one.
Hey, learn something new
I
right
did.
here on Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
You sure do. The Hartford
And
Hawks.
I'm going to take UNC, the Tar Heels, in the next game to go over Wisconsin.
Squeak by Wisconsin.
Yes.
All right, next we go to our local team, Villanova, two-time champions in the last couple years.
Against the Big South champion, Winthrop.
Yeah, they're going to take on a Winthrop team that lost 1 game this season. Not that they played the toughest of schedules. Villanova, 6.5-point favorite. Game, they're giving them a 79% chance. I'm going to give them a 100% chance and move them on.
Okay.
You got Purdue, North Texas.
North Texas and Purdue, and definitely the Boilermakers in this one.
Okay. Staying in Texas, I have Texas Tech, Utah State, the 6-11 game. I've seen a lot of Utah State over the last couple of years. They're a frustrating team to play against, and I'll take them. I'll take an 11 seed, okay. A 20-8 team versus a 17-10. You know, not a great Texas Tech team. The game predictor gives Utah State a 34% chance. 1-3, I'll take it. We'll move them on. Arkansas Colgate, 3-14.
Yeah, and oh boy, I would love to take Colgate here, but I can't. I'm going to take Arkansas.
I'm not going to go with a Donald Foyles.
I think it's going to be a back and forth game here, but I like Arkansas to pull it out at the end.
Okay. It moves us to the 7-10 game. A lot of people like Florida to make some noise. The Florida Gators and Virginia Tech Hokies. I'll stick with Florida out of the SEC. Which will give you Ohio State 2 seed versus your 15 seed Oral Roberts.
What's their nickname at Oral Roberts? That I don't know. I'm not picking them, but I don't know their nickname either.
I'm looking at their logo, and it still doesn't tell me anything. They're the Summit League champions. The Golden Eagles. There you are.
Wow.
I have heard that before. I just didn't remember. Golden Eagles out of Oral Roberts. I think we could take Ohio State in that one, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That'll do it for the South bracket. Next, we go to the Midwest. Number 1 seed Illinois against Philly's own Drexel Dragons. Drexel 12-7. 12-7. They did win the CAA tournament and earned their first tournament berth in 25 years.
Wow, is that how long it's been?
That's how long it's been. What was that, a Malik Rose team 25 years ago?
It may have been.
Yeah, I think it was.
Wow.
Malik Rose, a former San Antonio Spur and Philadelphia 76ers announcer. But,
yeah, the guy who I went to school with and graduated with here in Columbia, Pennsylvania, which is where I live, and our high school team won the 1986 state championship. Anyway, the best player from that team that I graduated with in 1990, his name was Mike Whistler, and he attended Drexel. So every time I hear Drexel, I'll think of my good friend Mike. But wow, yeah, it has been a long time, but they're in trouble against Illinois.
Okay, so we'll advance Illinois. It's just nice that Drexel didn't have to play a playing game. They actually get to play in the main field, so that'll be fun to watch. Give us something to watch, a 22.5-point underdog. I'll take the next game because I know you're going to want the next. Oh, wait. If I take the next game. No, you take it. I'm trying to get you to the following game. You'll see what I mean.
I know.
Okay.
And I'm going to take right here. I'm going to take Georgia Tech to beat Loyola Chicago.
Okay. Loyola Chicago made some noise a couple years ago with Sister Mary, their big fan. When they went
that is who comes to mind with that team. And I don't know them going up against Georgia Tech. I mean, that's another one of those games where I think you can toss a coin, but I'm just going to take Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech's hot. They just won the ACC tournament. So.
Correct.
Right. Next, you have Tennessee versus Oregon State. I watched Oregon State Saturday night. They were shooting the lights out from 3.
And Tennessee lost their lead against Alabama over the weekend.
They did. They were up by 12 early in the second half, and that lead disappeared. Alabama's a tough team. They came right back on them. I'll also go an upset. I'll take the Oregon State Beavers, number 12 seed, to advance.
All right.
There we go. It's all you.
Oklahoma State versus Liberty. And the reason why he's hyping up this game for me is I am a graduate of Liberty. So I will take Liberty to upset Oklahoma State.
Uh-oh. Liberty, I know what they're called. I don't even have to look. The Flames. I know that from the college football season. They had a great year. I watched that Coastal Carolina game. Great season for Liberty.
And the interesting thing is the gym that they play in is called the Vine Center. That's on campus, but it's also called the Furnace.
The Furnace. I won't forget that.
I can't go against my alma mater here. And the last time they were in the tournament, they did pull off an upset by beating Mississippi State.
There you go. What year was that? How long ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yes. They beat them, and then they went on to play Virginia Tech, and they lost right at the end.
All right. Let's keep moving. Because we're gonna have Liberty in the next round, so we'll feature them again. San Diego State, Syracuse. They featured Jim Boeheim's son on the perimeter. San Diego State, 6th seed. 23-4. Syracuse, 16-9. It's another coin flip. I'll go with the better coach. I'll go Syracuse.
All right.
And I'll give you West Virginia, the 3 seed, against Morehead State. Morehead State won a game a few years back. They are 23-7. West Virginia 18-9. Struggled a little bit down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm not too impressed with West Virginia, but I am going to pick them to win this game at least.
There you go. That'll leave me with Clemson and another team right across the bridge, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, getting back into the tournament. Rutgers has a couple NBA prospects. They had a really decent year. You know, they have Miles Johnson, Jacob Young. Played in the Big Ten, 15-11. They were ranked for a part of the season. Clemson, 16-7. Didn't see much of them this year. This game,
you can't say that Rutgers played a softer schedule than Clemson either. So that's going to be a tough one. So good luck with that pick.
I'll take Rutgers. I'll take the 10.
Okay. Yep.
I'll give you a team that played really well this year, the Houston Cougars, against Cleveland State.
Yes, Raleigh Massimino's other team, Cleveland State.
That's right.
Not anymore, but he had coached them at one point.
He did. After Villanova, he did coach Cleveland State and UNLV.
But I'm definitely going to take the Cougars to win this one.
Okay. All right. That's the first round. We've completed 32 picks.
That is.
All right, we'll do the second round, then we'll take I don't know if we have time for a break. We'll see how it works out. We'll do we'll go right back to the West for the second round. Now the games get good. We have Gonzaga, Oklahoma. You can start it off.
I'll still go with Gonzaga.
Okay. The Bulldogs going on.
Yes.
That'll give me a really tough matchup. Creighton, Virginia. Virginia likes to play the slow it down defensive style. Creighton 20-8. Virginia 18-6. ACC. Big East. I'll go Creighton. Hopefully they can hit the threes. That'll give you USC, Kansas.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to take USC to win that game. I think that they're going to be able to advance, and I am not the biggest Kansas fan this year.
Okay. Game's another toss-up. Here's a great matchup. Second round, Iowa and Luka Garza against Oregon. Iowa's a really slow team. Really slow-footed. Luka Garza struggles to get up and down the court. Despite winning National Player of the Year, I don't see him even drafted in a mock draft, which you don't see very often.
No, you don't.
The Ducks did win 11 of the 12 games going into the Pac-10 tournament, like Pac-12 tournament. Like I said earlier, they were hot, and they're going to be quick, and I think you're going to see an upset. I'm going to go with the Oregon Ducks.
All right.
Go to the East.
Wow.
Michigan takes on the Bonnies of St. Bonaventure.
Wow. I would love to be able to pick St. Bonaventure in this game, but I do think Michigan is a Final Four team, and I'm going to pick Michigan.
Okay. Which gives us the 4-5 matchup. Two teams that I like, Florida State and Colorado. Once again, I can throw a quarter up in the air and pick it that way, but
They'll never fail.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I'll go Florida State.
All right.
All right, that brings us to BYU, Texas.
Yeah, and I think in this game, I'm going to go with Texas.
Okay, the Longhorns advance. And we'll go UConn, the 7 seed, will take on Alabama, the 2 seed. And I'm a big fan of Alabama. I'll send them right along to the Sweet 16. All right, we'll head to the South. Moving right along. Baylor Bears, North Carolina.
Yeah, the Tar Heels are done in this game.
Okay.
It's Baylor.
I agree. And we got the Villanova Wildcats versus a familiar foe, the Purdue Boilermakers, who they've played, I believe, twice in the last 5 years in the tournament. They had the committee likes to put them in second-round matchups together for some reason.
Yes, they do.
Purdue 18-9, Villanova 16-6. Oh, it's my turn. I'm sorry. We'll go with the home team, Villanova. Even without the point guard, which we didn't even talk about, Colin Gillespie out. It's going to be tough for them to handle the ball. They're going to have to take turns bringing the ball up with Robinson Earl and Justin Moore. They have a great coach though. Jay Wright's the Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer. He'll get him through.
Villanova in that game.
Yeah, he'll get him through. That brings us to the 3-seed Arkansas and the 11-seed Utah State.
And I'm going to stick with Arkansas in this game.
Yeah, the Razorbacks should advance.
Utah State is not going to be an easy out for anybody, and if they do advance over Texas Tech, they're going to give. And if it is Arkansas over Colgate, it's going to be an interesting game to watch. But I would take Arkansas.
It is. I believe that'll be a game that'll go down to the wire.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Florida Gators and Ohio State Buckeyes. There's another one.
They'll be playing in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Two great quarterbacks and Heisman Trophy candidates. Oh, wrong sport. Sorry. Florida, Ohio State. Ohio State 21-8, a 2-seed. Florida 14-9. I go Florida. I'll move Florida along, 7-seed. This is going to be a year with upsets. It's not going to be a chalk tournament. I don't think so. We got to pick them. And once again,
But I will go chalk in when we start the Midwest. I will start the Midwest off with chalk, of course, taking Illinois.
Folks, he's gonna let me decide his alma mater's fate here.
I am.
He's not gonna be happy.
Oh no, I wouldn't pick them in this one either.
Okay.
I'm probably wrong picking them in the first one.
Yeah, and I'm probably wrong. Oregon State playing them, but I'll take Oregon State.
All right.
The 12 seed to advance. And that'll give you Syracuse and West Virginia.
Wow. Could you get a better coaching matchup here? But I am going to take Syracuse. I am just not impressed with West Virginia this year. Syracuse
and Boeheim over Huggins and West Virginia. Okay.
Correct.
So it'll give me Houston, Rutgers. Rutgers will keep it close for probably the first half, and Houston will pull away in the second half. We'll go Houston, the 2 seed, to advance to the Sweet 16.
I would agree with that.
All right, we're almost there. 16 games to go, or 15 games to go. 16 teams.
You want to take a break here and then come back and finish out with the
bracket?
Sure.
We could take a quick break. Yeah.
Yes, we'll take a quick break, everyone. And just a reminder, you are listening to Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris right here on IE Sports Radio. This is your direct feed for all that on IE Sports Radio, and we will be right back.
Lopan, they didn't even want you. Heck, they didn't even want me. But you know what? Right about now, they have no choice. Looking for the real sports talk? Talk that's for us, the people? Look no further. The Wait a Minute Show, a prime time sports comedy cocktail that tucks you in at night. Join me and Lopan Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 2livestewsradio.com and Saturday 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the waitaminuteshow.com. Sounds like a plan to me. Ain't that right, Lopan? Indeed.
love college football? And do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Finish up our NCAA men's tournament bracket. We're into the Sweet 16, where we are at the West bracket with the number 1 seed Gonzaga taking on Creighton.
Welcome back, everybody, and you are listening to Philly Sports Talk here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And Cass, you're up. We have Gonzaga and Creighton. Who do you like?
I'm a perennial Gonzaga's not going to go far guy, but this isn't the matchup I think they go out in. I'm going to take Gonzaga to go to the Elite Eight, which will give you the 6th seed USC Trojans taking on the Oregon Ducks.
And the Oregon Ducks are going to win this one.
I agree. All right, so that takes us down to the East, where the Michigan Wolverines takes on the Florida State Seminoles. And same thing up there. I want to see Michigan go, but don't think this is quite the game they go out in. I'll take Michigan. I'll give you the 2 Alabama versus the 3 seed Texas Longhorns.
The Crimson Tide move on.
Agree.
What a game that'll be if it comes down to Alabama and Michigan.
I know, and I think I know where we're both heading in those 2 games.
Yeah.
Go back down to the South, where the Baylor Bears take on what we hope is the Villanova Wildcats, and we'll probably see the end of our Wildcats in that game. We'll go I'll go Baylor, which will give you the 3 seed Arkansas Razorbacks against the 7 seed Florida Gators.
I'm going to continue with Arkansas.
Okay, the Razorbacks.
Yes.
All right. Take us to the Midwest. Number 1 seed Illinois versus Oregon State. I mean, I'm not totally sold on Illinois, but they didn't have a tough road to this game, and I don't think they have that tough of a road here, so we'll put them through. Illinois.
Yep, I would agree with that, and I will take Houston to knock out the Orange.
Okay. We went chalk, didn't we? 1-2 in every. I know we took Arkansas in the South. All right. We go to the Elite Eight, where we got Gonzaga, Oregon, and this will be our upset team, Oregon Ducks. Go into the Final Four.
I cannot argue with that.
What am I talking?
This is the tough one for me.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, I could see this being maybe the best game so far if it comes down to it here in the tournament. I will take Alabama to win the game, even though I really do like Michigan as well, but I think Alabama will win this one. I said earlier I think Michigan is a Final Four team, but going up against Alabama here, it's going to be a tough game. I'm going to take the Crimson Tide.
Can't argue that one. As I go to Baylor, Arkansas. And I've said all season long that Baylor's going to be in the championship game. I got to stick with it. I'm going to put them through. Final Four, Baylor Bears.
And I will not take the Illini here. I will take Houston to be in the Final Four.
That's a popular choice. All right. So
we have Final Four. We have Oregon, Alabama, Baylor, and Houston.
Your normal Final Four.
Yes.
No Duke, no Kentucky, no North Carolina, no Villanova. Oregon, Alabama, an athletic game, probably a high-scoring game. For the first time in probably my lifetime and probably ever, I remember Alabama in a title game.
I do not, but I cannot disagree if that's who you're putting there.
Yeah, I'm going to put Alabama into the championship against Baylor, Houston.
It's going to have to be Baylor.
Alabama and Baylor in the final. Well, we have alternated all the way, but I think we should talk this game out. Baylor, Alabama. Baylor returns a lot of veterans. They're a deep team. Alabama.
Yeah, and if you look at it, I don't know how much you put on this. If hypothetically we have this corrected, looks like Alabama has had the tougher road getting there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you put any stock in that or not. I would say that would go against them, and I would say it would give Baylor the better chance to win the championship game. But sometimes playing those tough teams and coming out of a tougher bracket, it gives that team a better chance in the final game. But I would if it came down to these two, I would take Baylor.
Yeah, I mean, Baylor still has Macy O.T. They still have Jared Butler. They're a deep team. I think they just have too much on the perimeter, too much experience. We'll give the Baylor Bears the championship. We need a score. We'll go 78-70.
Okay,
Sounds
I'll
good.
go with that. 78-70, Baylor over
Alabama.
the Crimson Tide.
All right. That concludes our bracket. That was fun.
Yes, it does. And we will have a little bit of time left to cover some of the other sports in Philadelphia, such as Flyers, Eagles, Phillies. We will touch on them here in a little bit. Did you want to take another commercial break before we touch on them?
Well, we are up against it. Let's just go right through.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to everyone, you are listening to Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And right now, just to round out the Philly Sports Talk, I guess the first team that we can talk about, and I usually am the one who covers it here between Cash and I, is the Flyers. And I will stand by what I said before the season started. I don't feel that the Flyers are a playoff team. There are teams that are better than them in the conference that they're in. And the Flyers are just one of those teams that just seems like they've gotten old in a hurry, and their defense is not living up to what it should be, and the goaltending is not making up for how bad the defense is. Flyers did have an exciting win in overtime last night with Jake Voracek getting the goal at the end of the game, beating the Rangers in Madison Square Garden. But once again, another frustrating game as a Flyers fan, because the Flyers scored 2 quick goals to start, and then when the second period began, the Flyers were ahead 2-0 and were down 3-2 very quickly, and had to fight back to tie the game. And then they got down 4-3, had to fight back to tie it again at 4-4, and finally win it in overtime. So that's probably all our hockey coverage. I just don't think that the Flyers are playoff team this year. Hopefully I'm proven wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry. I fell asleep. Were you talking about hockey?
Yeah, I was talking, Philadelphia has that team. They're orange and black. Every year everyone thinks they might win a Stanley Cup, or a lot of people think in Philadelphia that they could win a Stanley Cup, and then they come up short.
Yeah, I'm not one of them who thinks they can win. Not with like you said, a team that is slow, can't play defense. I don't know if the goaltender's bad or the defense is bad.
It's a combination, and obviously that, like I said, the defense is bad, and the goalie's not good enough at this point to make up for it. So it's not a good recipe for the Flyers. When you're averaging 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that range goals per game, and lately it's been the 4 or 5 goals per game for the Flyers, and they're still coming up short.
Yeah,
no good.
It's not a recipe for success in the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, like you said, because this year the top 4 teams in each division make the playoffs, and right now it's not the Flyers; they're in 5th.
Yeah. And it's not getting any easier with some of the teams. Fortunately, they'll have a bunch of games against the Rangers, the Devils, and the Sabres, but also in there you have the Capitals, you have the Penguins, you have the Bruins, and you have the Islanders, who give the Flyers a hard time. So,
and we know how they fare against the Bruins. No.
Yeah, the only city they beat to start the B is Buffalo.
Right, Buffalo is like a minor league team this season. Who they dominated a couple weeks ago, but last Tuesday night they struggled against. They had to come back to win.
Yes, they did. They had to really. They had shut them out 2 games in a row in Buffalo, and then the typical Flyers showed up against them last week and had to fight back. Unfortunately, they were able to win that game, but it was a struggle.
Okay. That concludes our Flyers coverage on Philly Sports Talk.
What's the latest Eagles news?
Well, the Eagles news is Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owner, stated that he wants the team to build around Jalen Hurts. So that tells us that Eagles will 95% not be drafting a quarterback in this year's draft. And they also need a backup quarterback. So earlier today it was rumored that they were interested in maybe signing Jacoby Brissett, who I believe would have been a good fit. But before we came on the air, Jacoby Brissett signed a deal with Miami. So he won't be coming. Tyrod Taylor, he also signed a deal. So quarterbacks are disappearing quick. Drew Brees retired, so Jameis Winston's most likely going to stay in New Orleans. So what you're saying is maybe the Eagles are going to draft a quarterback at some point. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that.
I know.
They might be bringing back Nate Sudfeld after all. Is what I might be saying. Or
Nick Foles may be available.
True. Wouldn't that be interesting? One bad pass by Jalen Hurts, and the Eagles crowd's going to start chanting for Foles. I don't think he needs that. So.
No, I don't think he needs that. No. He needs that either.
He needs someone who's going to bring him along. Someone that knows the offense and. I
mean, if you look at it realistically, the Philadelphia Eagles are, whether they're saying it or not, they are in rebuild, and it's going to take at least, I would say, at least next season and maybe the season after that for them to rebuild. And as of today, they've talked about letting Zach Ertz explore some trades, and Jalen Mills from the defense is going to the Patriots. So even though they have solidified the offensive line, it seems like some other players that have been assets for the Eagles are now moving on, and the rebuild is underway.
Yeah, they've done a nice job restructuring some contracts and getting some money freed up.
Brandon Graham, correct?
Yeah, Brandon Graham, Brandon Brooks.
Yes.
I mean, that's, as much as the city hates Roseman, I mean, he is a good cap manager. He's not he does a decent job there. I think they're within $17 million they freed up. So, I mean, not that they're going out and picking up blockbuster veterans, but, it helps, then when they have to pay Wentz the $32 million counts against them, that doesn't help, So.
No, that's the problem, but it was one of those things where you looked at it, I guess, it wasn't going to work with Wentz, and like you said, if you were going to go into the rebuild, it was one of those things where, yes, definitely they were going to have to take that huge cap hit, the biggest one in NFL history. Yep. But right now, hey, you throw in with Jalen Hurts, you put the line around him, like you said, you restructure some deals, you kind of go into what's going to be a rebuild here for a season or two, and you never know. This in that division that they're in, even though I still think the Eagles are probably the team that finishes last in that division.
I agree.
You never know. You never know. With as bad as that division was, if something clicks with the Eagles, if something clicks with Sirianni as the coach, or something like that, you never know, because 7-8 wins can win you that division, and next thing you know, you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the division. It does stink. It's not like the Redskins dramatically improved their team. It's not like the Giants dramatically improved the team. They're still going to be horrible teams. I think Dallas is going to be the clear favorite coming in, getting Dak back. But, I mean, you never know. What could happen last year with him going down? They turned into a disaster. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. It could be a 7 wins the division, but do we really want that? It would be nice to see a playoff game, but we know they're not going anywhere, the Eagles.
Correct. When you look at it that way, that's probably true. I just don't want to run into a situation where you're up against it like last year, and you just, even though it probably was to the Eagles' benefit losing that last game, it's just the way that played out always leaves a bad taste.
Yeah. I mean, and the other option that we haven't explored is trading down. The Eagles can trade back and maybe pick up a second-round pick. They need all the players they can get.
Yeah, and I'm one who disagrees with doing that. I don't disagree with the statement that the Eagles need all the players that they can get. But I think when you're as high as 6, you stick with 6 and you take who you think is the best player on the board.
I'm not talking.
Go ahead.
I'm not talking about trading into the 20s. I'm talking about maybe moving back to 9 or 10, where you'll still have a top flight wide receiver, or maybe even Patrick Surtain still there on the board. I'm not.
Yeah, if that's how the scenario would play out, hopefully that would be something that they could explore, because you're right. If that does give them another high pick in one of the higher rounds, and they can move back to 10 and get the player who they would like at 6,
right? Yeah,
that would definitely benefit the Eagles.
Yeah, then they could pick up a second-round pick and pick a backup quarterback like last year. Just kidding.
Yes, maybe. Yes, who is the best quarterback on the board? Let's take him.
All right. It's 9:09 on the East. Let's go to the Phillies. Talk a little Phillies spring training. There's not much to look at. The regulars haven't played much this preseason. I'm looking at Bryce Harper. He's only had 13 at bats. He's had 2 home runs. He's going to get his first start, I believe, tomorrow. Mickey Moniak really stood out, though. He's hitting 400 in the preseason.
About time.
Yeah, I mean, number 1 overall pick. He's hitting 400. He's had 2 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, and 15 at bats. I mean,
well, and that center field position, I guess it's wide open.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be Odubel Herrera's position.
I agree with you. I think so too.
Yeah, I think the Phillies they know it too. I mean, they probably, as much as they don't want to admit it.
It's not a bad thing to have as that 4th outfielder, Mickey Moniak, who's actually on the team, up in the major leagues, not back in the minors, and who can actually either come off the bench and produce, or can actually fill in if need be, or if Odubel is not playing very well, that there's someone who could fill in for him. That would be a bonus for the Phillies this year.
And Mickey only is 22 years old. I mean, so he's still, he's still growing into his body. He's not, he's not past the point where where we could call him a bust yet. He still has a shot. I mean,
yeah, and he has been in that group of players that every year has kind of been talked about with the Phillies. It's Mickey Moniak, it's Adonis Medina, it's Spencer Howard. It was Sixto Sanchez. It was those players, and we've seen what happened with Sixto Sanchez going to Florida. Spencer Howard, I guess, this year hopefully is going to make the club coming out of spring training. Whether he'll be a starter or not, I guess that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard everything of him being the third starter to the fifth starter, or like you said, pitching out of the pen. They might even go 6 starters to start the season because they have to stretch these guys out. So, I mean,
or what they could do is they could just get rid of Aaron Nola, and I'm not an Aaron Nola fan. And let's see, today against Toronto, he went 2 2/3 of an inning with giving up 7 hits and 6 earned runs. So, yeah, he's right on his way to being that opening day starter for the Phillies.
Come on, Chris. He was working on his fastball. You heard him. He was trying to locate his fastball in the middle of the plate.
Obviously, it needs more work. So today he was pitching to contact, and the contact was actually just happened to fall in. Okay.
Right. He wanted the outfielders to work on their gap speed. Another guy I mentioned earlier before the show, Matt Joyce. That's a nice pickup. That's a great bat off the bench. That's a veteran bat off the bench. He's hitting .538 in spring training so far. Matt Joyce, a veteran.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, that's been really lacking on the Phillies the last couple of years has been that bench. Players that come off that bench who actually could really produce. And if Joyce can fill that role this year, that's really going to help the Phillies. Like I said, if Moniak can do it and Joyce can be there as 2 solid guys off the bench, that's really going to help the Phillies. And especially if it looks like they're going to have double headers again this year, maybe more than you would usually see on a regular full 162 game schedule. That's going to help the Phillies.
Yeah, and you mentioned Moniak, Joyce. We mentioned
Brad Miller.
What's that?
Brad Miller also.
Yeah, Brad Miller. All left-handed bats. I've never seen the Phillies this loaded with left-handed bats before.
No, it is going to be something different, I guess. And when you look through the lineup, yeah, there's a few left-hand bats in the lineup too. I guess
you got Bryce, you got Didi. I mean, there's a lot of lefties. Odubel, it's a left-handed heavy team, which concerns me going against left-handed pitchers.
True. Well, Rhys Hoskins will just have to pick it up against the left-hand pitchers this year.
Sure.
Well, his on-base percentage will probably be the same. I just like to see a little bit more power. And I know last week, I want to correct the mistake I made last week. It was not a wrist injury that he had. It was Tommy John surgery on his non-throwing arm. And apparently he hit a home run recently, so I'm guessing that he's coming through that surgery pretty well, and he's going to be healthy for opening day.
Yeah, I mean, it looks that way. I mean, he has struggled. He's definitely struggled in spring training. He's only hitting 200 with an on-base percentage of 250. So, I mean, he did hit the first homer, but he's definitely struggling. I hope that doesn't carry into the regular season.
Yeah, hopefully it's not something that, like you said, will carry over, and hopefully it's not I mean, it's probably one of those things coming off that surgery and trying to adjust, and hopefully that's just something where the surgery went well, and that's not going to be a problem for him this year. Because if the Phillies are going to do anything, they're definitely going to need to be relying on Rhys Hoskins.
Right. All right. That'll wrap our Phillies coverage up. One more. We'll donate. We'll dedicate a couple minutes to NASCAR. We did it last week. We picked Harvick. Harvick just didn't have it last week. Something.
No, but another race where he's done well is coming up this week.
Yeah, they go to the Atlanta Motor Speedway where he has done very well over the years. But I just don't know if he has the car this year. So far he hasn't had the speed. There hasn't been.
It's strange because every week it just seems to be a new guy coming up. And Martin Truex, of course, has been around for a while, but last week, like we were talking earlier, I mean, you got to a certain point in the race where it was like, if something strange doesn't happen, that he has the best car, and he did last week. And I really enjoyed that race last week. I mean, I think that track out there in Phoenix is an underrated track, and like I said, that race last week was an enjoyable one to watch. I mean, I'm a Denny Hamlin fan, and it was one where he was doing well, but you could just tell, like you said earlier, that Truex was going to win that race unless something happened.
Yeah, and it's just watching these races. It's just there's no passing. It seems like the cars are so evenly matched that you don't see the passing like you see at a Bristol. It's like once the cars get spaced out, they'll all space like half a second apart, and they'll stay that way for 20, 30 laps. It's just it seems like the engines are so similar, and then it's like there's no advantages for the Gibbs or for Hendricks. I don't know what they've done, but they've done a great job making the cars even. I'll tell you that. So the best drivers are definitely going to come to the front.
Yeah, and like I said too, and especially where and it stuck out to me last week, but I have noticed since the beginning of this season, it is something that is making NASCAR more enjoyable. I mean, I've been a NASCAR fan ever since I've been in college, which is going back over 25 years. Mm-hmm. But it's just one of those things to where it's been that way, and a lot of people would call NASCAR as a niche sport, even though it is very popular. Not as popular, I guess, as it has been over the years. But I think now with what's going on, like you just said, the way the races are, it's very enjoyable to watch and to see. And like you said, the best drivers are going to be the ones that are probably going to be the ones coming out ahead going forward. But very enjoyable, and it's fun to sit down and watch a race on a Sunday.
It is. Here's something that I didn't enjoy about Sunday. The 2 straight weeks this has happened now. Kyle Larson was let me talk about the pit road. Pit road speed was 45 miles per hour on Sunday. So it changes from track to track, but it was 45 miles an hour on Sunday, and they give you a 5 mile per hour leeway. He was clocked at 50.01 on pit road.
And he got flagged.
And he got flagged and sent to the back. Yeah. That's a joke. That's a joke. You mean to tell me that this speedometer has no room for error?
No, it doesn't. It is precise. It is just like when you get stopped by police officers out on 95 or somewhere. They know exactly how fast you were going, when you started, and
I mean, that's my other contention. The cars don't have speedometers, so they're going off RPMs. They don't know how fast they're going. We're in 2021. Why can't they put a speedometer in a NASCAR?
Yeah, and especially, I guess it's one of those things too, to where you can get that radioed in on from the guys in the pit or the guys up top watching. But you're right. It just seems like each week somebody who's doing well all of a sudden is now a lap behind because they were a mile or two over what that limit is.
All right.
And just to touch on right now, the Sixers are at halftime. They're playing at home against the New York Knicks, and they are up by 2. I think the score, last I saw it at halftime, it is 48-46, Philadelphia at halftime.
A low scoring.
Yes.
Oh, it's actually, I'm showing 56-48 Knicks at halftime. Is that right? I mean, you're watching it. I'm looking on the computer, so I don't.
No, I could be wrong here. Let me check. That was, like I said, that was the last time I looked up, and I could be wrong. And you are correct. The Knicks are up by 8 at the break.
Well, let's hope
apologize.
Let's hope the Sixers can come back in the second half, because to start the second half with 4 straight wins would be a plus, especially without Embiid.
Yeah, it's just any time that Philadelphia is playing New York, you don't want to see New York come out on top, no matter what's going on.
That's game 40, so after that, there'll be 32 games left after tonight for the Sixers.
Yeah, and they're going to be 32 quick games, too.
Yeah, and they got the Bucks tomorrow night at the Wells Fargo Center. All right, guys. Well, it's been a great show. was a long show. We did an hour and 20 minutes tonight with our bracket. Took a little while. That's 2 shows we've done now on IE Sports, and it's been really fun. I thank the guys for having us on, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, we will. We will be back next week live from 8 to 9. We are Philly Sports Talk right here on IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. I am Chris, and he is Cash, and I think we are signing off.
Good night, everybody.